forgot to accommodate a little bit of space. I gotta give a 1/16, so that, or maybe a 1/4 inch? Probably a 1/4 inch. That way I can weld this onto the pipe. You'll see when I get there. But I gotta redo this. Not my best work, but it'll do. Got 1 down, 4 more to go. Well, no, 3 more. Okay, that's still hot. Okay, so in theory, this thing is just screwed in. I welded these so these won't move, but if I ever have to replace this ball joint, I can unscrew it out. And what's going to help prevent this from backing out is the upper control arm being up here and having the spindle here. So this thing can't back out on its own. Everything will be locked into place. Yeah. So now I just have to create the spindle and the tabs to go here on the control arms. There you have it. I got the 2 control arms on. It is a little stiff. It's not, the bolt's not too tight. I just maybe when it welded on, it maybe warped a little bit, but that's fine. It's not too stiff, you know. It's real snug. It'll wear down once I start riding this thing. It'll wear into the bearings, but that's fine. The idea of how this is going to work. Pretend my arm's a spindle, my hand's a spindle. That's how it's going to work. You'll be able to rotate and have suspension. Not a whole lot of movement though. This is the highest it can go. Maybe about like 2 inches of travel. We'll see when I build that. So let me build the spindle, then we'll find out. So I got this side on now. I didn't bother on recording this because it's pretty much the same thing. What I did on that side, I did over here. So it was the same thing. Now I did kind of screw up a little bit, making this spindle here. If you notice, that one looks nice. This one looks like I cut the edges. Well, that's because when I was welding this tab on, I welded it a little too close and I couldn't get my wrench in here. So I ended up cutting it, and I'm gonna go ahead and clean this up. It's kind of hard to sand this down, but I'm gonna clean that up, and I'm gonna match. It's a shame because I actually like this, but I'll match this side here. I'm gonna do it over here. I'll do that later. For right now, it functions. So now I just got to get the shocks on. It's really nice to see this thing roll now. It's been so long, and I can finally get it rolling. Have it tacked on right now. That's perfect. I'm gonna go ahead and weld it. I was afraid it was going to be too soft, but actually it's pretty stiff. By the way, I probably didn't need the washers because these nuts are flanged anyways. So I probably didn't need it, but thing's heavy now. Suspension works. Got that all on. So I just guesstimated where the shocks need to go. I didn't necessarily plan that out, but you saw how I put these on. I just tacked it on and pretty much just sat on it, and yeah, I just guessed where to mount the shocks, but it worked out pretty well. I wanted to stick off the ground just a little bit because when you sit on here, well, the further you sit back, the shocks don't really engage. It's when you sit up here, it's when they engage. But yeah, I think that's perfect where it's at. Especially when I add the engine and the rest of the stuff, and add all that on. Alright, so the next thing I gotta do, steering. I gotta do steering. Now I can sit on this thing. This seat is really uncomfortable. That's it for this one. I'm just gonna call it for this video. That took a lot of time these control arms took a lot of time to build, and I didn't expect it for that to take it that long, but it did. The hard part is out of the way. Now I can just do the steering and mount the engine. I'm gonna call it for this one. I'll see you in the next one.